I present to your attention a short retelling of the film Do Not Worry, Dear. The action takes place on the territory of the United States of America in the 1950s. Jack and Alice live in a perfect neighborhood, enjoying a special luxury. At the dinner table, they always have a juicy steak. They drive an expensive car and do not refuse anything. Of course, in addition to them, other family couples live in this area, with whom the main characters maintain friendly relations. Every day, Jack and the other men go to work in the desert, and Alice and other women stay at home. They watch the cozy, clean, cook delicious food and wait for the return of spouses. Women know practically nothing about the work of their husbands. The only thing they know is about the existence of some secret project called Victory. Nevertheless, they do not know what their loved ones are doing. However, this does not bother anyone, because there are only two rules here. Do not ask unnecessary questions and do not enter the desert that surrounds this town. It is believed that leaving a safe place, they will put their lives in incredible danger. In their free time, friends Alice, Bunny and Peg go to the ballet circle and shop in a chic store. They used to be friends with another housewife, but she had some psychological deviations, so their communication was reduced to a minimum. It turns out that she led her own son into the desert, thereby deliberately endangering his life. As a result, the boy died, but Margaret is sure that she was punished for curiosity. One day, all the residents of the area go to a party that Frank arranged with Shelley's wife. He is the most influential person here. The rest of the men work for him. Everyone is having fun and enjoying the celebration, but after a few moments Margaret appears, who says one unusual phrase, "There is no place for us here." No one paid much attention to this, but Alice reacted excitedly to her words. Then she sees how Margaret's husband takes her to the far room and tries to give her medicine. The heroine is confused and tries to tell Jack about everything, but he doesn't let her speak. When the girl was cooking dinner, she noticed that the chicken eggs were empty inside. She doesn't believe her eyes and decides to calm down, go into the city. The heroine gets on the tram and makes a few circles. Soon Alice sees the plane crash, which fell high in the mountains. Knowing that it is strictly forbidden to go there, she still goes to the crash site. Because the pilot may need help, being at the top of the mountain, she discovers a building in the form of a dome. Alice tries to call for help, and touching the window, she gets hallucinations. She doesn't know what's going on, and after a moment her consciousness turns off. Then she wakes up in her house and hears Jack doing something in the kitchen. She was surprised, because her husband never came so early. In addition, she does not remember how she got here. Having asked Jack what he saw when he came home, she did not receive answers to her questions, because Jack said that she was already here, and he did not believe her stories about the plane. Gradually, the life of the heroine turns into a nightmare. Hallucinations and paranoid thoughts consume her without a trace. Soon, at ballet classes, she sees something strange in a mirror image, Margaret's death. Then she decides to talk to the girl and goes to her house. But Margaret, standing on the roof, cut her throat and jumped down. Suddenly people appear in red and drag the heroine from the corpse. Having waited for her husband from work, Alice decides to talk to him, expressing her suspicions and fears. However, he does not believe her words. The man convinces her that everything she talks about is a result of shock. And in fact, Margaret washed the windows and just stumbled. In addition, Dr. Collins, who is Frank's partner, confirms Jack's version. He prescribes Alice sedatives. And at this time she notices a document in his bag with the inscription of the threat of security. The heroine decides to stealthily steal it to find out the truth. But she failed to read the notes and get closer to the solution. Alice is confused. Does she really go crazy? She does not have an exact answer, so she decides not to find out the truth. The next day, all the residents of the town go to a party dedicated to Victory. At some point, Alice realizes that she can no longer be in the company of these people and asks Jack to go home. However, he does not listen to her, because Frank appoints her as his partner, and this event is extremely important to him. Unable to contain her emotions, the heroine goes to the ladies' room, where her friend Bunny comes. She tries to find out from Alice what's going on with her. Then the girl tells her about all her assumptions and thoughts, but her friend doesn't believe her either. She offers to throw all this nonsense out of her head and go to the hall to the other guests, together with them to rejoice in Jack's promotion. A few days later, Alice and her husband invite neighbors to visit, except Bunny. They also invited Frank and his wife. While Jack was busy having a social conversation with friends, Frank came to Alice's kitchen. He knows about her conversation with Bunny, and transparently hints that she is right in her assumptions. However, he still won't be able to figure it all out. Shocked by the directness of the chapter of victory, Alice decides to take him to clean water right at the table. It turns out that most married couples have the same history of acquaintance. They spend honeymoon in the same places and even were born in the same cities. The heroine tries to reveal to everyone present the eyes to the truth, but no one believes her. Everyone thinks she's crazy, like Margaret. Here is the moment when you can stop the video and watch the film yourself, as there will be spoilers. But first, like this video and subscribe to my channel. When all the guests left for their homes, Alice once again tries to talk to Jack. She asks him only about one thing, to leave this place. To her surprise, the husband agreed, and she went to collect all the necessary things. However, being in the car, it became clear that he was not going to leave. Jack handed her over, allowing people in red suits to take away his beloved. Dr. Cullens, along with his close colleagues, undergoes Alice electroshock therapy. And in the breaks between torments, the heroine sees her previous life, which was her reality. It turns out that she is an experienced surgeon, who worked all day to put an end to it, because Jack was unemployed. After a while, Alice returns to Jack's house. She doesn't remember the last events, but hallucinations still torment her. And when everyone decided that she was fine, Alice remembers the truth. The fact is that the victory is the world of simulations, who once created Frank. It turns out that Jack knew about everything. Moreover, it was he who made her part of the fictional world, against her will. When Jack realized that Alice knew everything, he decided to try to keep her. The guy swears that he did it for their own good, so that there was an opportunity to live a perfect life. The heroine is horrified and does not know what to do. Jack talks about the conditions of such membership in this community. It turns out that the husbands take responsibility for their wives, deliberately forcing them to enter the simulation. The people here are real, just their real bodies are in a kind of coma, under the influence of unusual lenses. Alice wants to return to normal life, but Jack does not let her go, squeezing her in his arms. Then, to free herself, the heroine grabs a glass and hits her husband, after which Jack falls dead on the floor. Meanwhile, Frank is told that Jack is dead, and he sends his people to get Alice. The girl has practically no time left, because on the streets there was already a sound alarm. Bunny runs into the house and asks the heroine to run away. It turns out that the friend knows about the simulation. She deliberately chose this life, because she has children here, which she lost in reality. Bunny is trying to explain that Jack died not only in this world, but also in the real one. So no one can turn her off from the simulation, and she urgently needs to get out of this place. Going outside in a bloody dress, she noticed that the other husbands began to panic. Then other women began to guess about everything. Meanwhile, while Frank was talking on the phone, Shelley decided to kill him. She wants to regain control over her mind. Therefore, she had no other way out. Alice guesses that to return to reality, she needs to get to the top of the mountain to that very building. She gets into Jack's car and tries to escape. The chase immediately begins for her, because they don't want her to return to the real world, as they will lose her forever. The heroine managed to get to the top, but before she takes the last step, she sees Jack. He asks her to stay, but the girl no longer wants to live in the world of illusions. Alice touches the window, thereby getting out of the simulation. And that's all. Subscribe and like. Mikhail was with you. Thanks for watching. Bye.